Happy Monday, everybody. My name is Gabe.
And I'm Caleb.
And today you are watching another episode of the Positive Outlook podcast. And it's not technically Monday for us. It's Monday for you guys, our YouTube audience. But what day is it for us, Caleb, and why are we here?
It is a Wednesday, and as we have said on our Instagram and our TikTok, we are now doing a weekly stream on Twitch. It's our way of branching out, trying to reach a bigger audience, a more interactive audience. We can hear from you guys directly. And also, we plan on kind of doing an episode and just kind of hanging out, making more content for you guys. And we're really excited to try this new avenue.
Yeah, we're really excited. So for us, it's a Wednesday, which I think is what we're going to try to stick to as far as our schedule goes for live streaming. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, or we might clip this and put it on TikTok as well. So if you're watching on either TikTok or YouTube, just know that we go live on Twitch now on Wednesdays at 7. So make sure you tune in so you guys can be live and interact with us. So,
and if that changes, we will let you guys know at least a week in advance. My schedule is kind of all over the place. But as of now, Wednesdays at 7 work for me. If anything changes, you guys will be the first people to know, I promise.
Yep. Who will be the second to know?
Maybe you.
Okay.
I don't know. I might call my mom.
That'd be fine.
It just kind of depends.
Yeah, I might ring up my grandparents. Hey, guys, just so you know. Yeah, just so you guys know, I don't think my grandparents have ever tuned in, so...
Mine have, actually.
Yeah. Didn't they play in front of, like, your whole family one time?
No, that was my little sister.
Oh.
It was our first ever episode.
Yeah.
And she put it on the TV, and it was a moment for sure.
Yeah. I don't hate it, but, like, it's weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we could watch something else. Like, my sister and my brother-in-law would put it on the TV for their kids. And they'd be like, because they call me Gunkle. And they're like, it's Gunkle, it's Gunkle. And they like think I'm a celebrity, and I'm like, guys, you are one of the 13 viewers. Like, just so you know.
No, I have a 7-year-old sister, and she thought I was famous because she loves YouTube. And at the time, she was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And she'd see me pop up on a thumbnail. And when did you get so famous?
Yep.
Like,
you're on the TV. You're on the TV. Yeah, it's great. All right. Well, yeah, today I just kind of wanted to go over goal setting, fundamentals of goal setting, mindset challenges, stuff like that. We can go into, and if you have anything that you want to bring up as well, we can go over that too.
Okay. Well, first of all, you kind of missed the mark on this one, but I think it's because we're announcing all this on it being our first stream on Twitch.
Yep.
But as every faithful viewer knows.
Oh no!
What does every great episode start with, Gabe?
Every great episode starts with an icebreaker.
An icebreaker. This one's going to be super simple, but I'm hoping it catches you off a little bit. I'm hoping. It's your last meal. What are you eating?
Oh, last meal. What am I eating? Okay, is it like entree, appetizer, dessert, or is it just like I get like one piece of food and that is it?
One entree. I'll give you one entree and a side if you want. You don't have to include a side, but the option is there. It's a limited menu, but you can choose anything. Just one entree, though.
An entree with a side. Yes. I'm going to make it easy because it is something that I will always enjoy and I will never get tired of. And because I don't have that much time to put thought into the answer and I have to just give you one, I'm going with chips and salsa as the side.
Okay.
And the meal is just going to be, like, Qdoba-esque burrito, but, like, not necessarily Qdoba because that's, like, fast casual, but, like, authentic Mexican food with, like, carne asada, rice, and then just, like, cheese and just a slop burrito. That would be my answer, probably over and over, because I love it.
Gotcha. Hot take, by the way. Chipotle is better than Qdoba.
That's a hot take.
There's no debate about it, in my opinion. There's no debate.
So you think Chipotle is better than Qdoba?
Mm-hmm.
So what's weird is everyone that I've talked to, most people, you're the outlier. Most people that I talk to, if they started eating, never mind. You make sense. If they started eating Qdoba, they think Chipotle is better. If they started with Chipotle, they think Qdoba is better.
Here's the thing, okay? You know that my heart is all for Qdoba.
Uh-huh.
I love Qdoba,
Fake fan.
but
Fake fan. Go
I started
ahead.
eating. I started eating Chipotle because we have one,
Yep.
and I started eating that over Qdoba. And then the other day, one of my coworkers was going to grab lunch. She's like, "Hey, I can grab you something while I'm out." I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to Qdoba. Perfect." Brings me back a Qdoba bowl, and I'm excited because it's been a while. It's like seeing an old friend.
Yeah.
And I start digging in, and it's just not the same. I just can't enjoy it the way I enjoyed Chipotle
Qdoba?
bowl.
Oh man. But now another thing I did here, you'll have to confirm or deny this. Because TikTok say otherwise as well, but Chipotle gives you a bigger portion.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
do. Okay,
yeah.
just confirming that. Have you seen
And
the?
in my opinion, the biggest difference is just the quality of the meat. And Chipotle is a little more expensive, so it kind of makes sense. Qdoba is a little more budget friendly. And I'm not saying I don't like Qdoba. I'm just saying after Chipotle, I've been brainwashed by them, and I love their food.
All right. So what's your answer? What would your last
My
meal be?
answer, honestly, it's pretty basic, but just a big, giant cheeseburger cooked medium. I want it to be like that pink where it just melts in your
Yeah.
mouth. Um, Preferably all the toppings except for onions.
No onions.
No
Holy
onions.
man, dude, onions are my favorite. If I could only have one topping on my burger, it'd be onions.
You're an onion eater?
Yeah, an onion eater. Why does that?
Ooh.
Why does that sound bad, dude? You onion eater. Oh man, yeah, I love onions. I always will. But okay, all right. Well, great icebreaker. We love an icebreaker because it gets you guys into the positive outlook mood. It brings the energy up, and that was a little bit of a longer one though. I don't know. We're
Yeah.
looking at like 6 or 7 minutes before the episode even starts, but that's fine. That's what we're here for, guys. And if you guys have anything else to say, comment. So we could probably put in our description like YouTube or like the actual episode starts at yada yada. So, but anyway, we still have one viewer on Twitch. They're not saying anything. But
Well, they're sticking around, so
yeah. So, goals, man. Goals. Do you have any right now? You have any current goals? You don't have to share what they are, but do you have them?
yes.
Okay. Are
And I'll
they?
share one of them right now. As a lot of viewers know, I want to be a pilot. So my goal right now is to get my commercial pilot license, which I am in the final stage of that training. Unfortunately, it's really expensive, so I've had to kind of pause on that while I build back up money to pay for it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably if I can speak English, my biggest goal right now.
Do you have daily goals, or is it more so a to-do list?
Um, I don't know if I'd call it daily goals necessarily. Yeah, it's more I more of just have a to-do list, and it's more of just getting in my routine. It's not I don't even really have like a checklist
Yeah.
because it's such a routine. But yeah. I mean sometimes I'll create weekly goals, but I don't really do daily goals now.
What goals do you find to be the easiest to come up with? Whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, annually, which ones do you have the easiest time with?
Definitely long term, and I wouldn't say that they're easy. It's just for me, goal setting is a really intense process. It's not something that I think you should necessarily do all the time, constantly.
Right.
I think you should always have your goals in mind. You should always be able to see your goals. You should always be able to see the progress you've made. But I don't necessarily think it's something that you should just whip up like all the time. I think it's a process that if you really want a goal to stick, if you really want something, you need to make sure you want it.
Yeah.
And so it's not something necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying, if daily goals work for you, that's great. But I'm talking personally, I really set the long term goals. And then sometimes I'll set like kind of the smaller goals to get me to the long term goals.
Yeah.
Um, and by long term, that's kind of a really relative term. I have like my goal net worth by the time I'm 30, and I consider that long term, but I also have a long term goal as in the next 3 months where I want to be, whether
Right.
it's financially or in my aviation career, et cetera. So long term is kind of a relative term, but I personally steer away from daily and weekly goals because I think you need at least 24 hours minimum to set a goal. Minimum.
Yeah. So, do you know what Tony Robbins says? The how to make. So, say in your life, right? Whether it's, dude, I catch myself doing that so much, and I notice I lead TikToks like when I do a moment. Like I say in life when you and that phrase right there, I always catch myself saying it, and it just sounds so corny. So I'm gonna try to stop saying that. But in in your life, when you're trying to make a change or head in a different direction, Tony Robbins says that if you don't make an impactful change, like an impactful decision that you have to take action on immediately, then you're like 75% less likely to even act on it. So if you want to become more fit, if you want to eat better, if you want to, I don't know, make more money, if you're not doing something that has an impact on you instantly and you're taking action right now, if you're not doing that, your chances of succeeding are a lot lower, which I think is really interesting. So like when it comes to, we'll just say dieting, right? If you have junk food in
Mhm.
your house, just go pick it all up and throw it away right away. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think that really interjects with what I said, really in any way,
Right.
because that's kind of like the action part
Mm-hmm.
of your goals. I think that's great, though. I mean, truly, it's always so easy to sit down and discuss what you want to do with your life,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in the far future, whether it's oh yeah, starting next week. It's so easy to get all amped up and start talking about it, and then the conversation's over. You go to bed, you wake up, and you just repeat your cycle of whatever
Yeah.
you've been doing.
Man.
It's
I
so
mean
easy to do
I
that.
mean how many times did we have that talk, right? Where
Hmm.
we're sitting outside of the powerhouse gym. We quit working, we finish our lift at midnight. We're sitting outside in the cold. For some reason, neither of us get like in the car and are like, "Yo, sit in the car with me and talk." We stand outside in the cold, and we just talk for like probably half an hour, 45 minutes. Just like, man, I want to do so much more in my life. And then we'd go to bed and wake up and have the same talk over and over and over. And eventually, we took action. It didn't really take that long. I feel like for us to take action, but once we did, then we started having the talks on here, and that changed a lot. This is a lot more impactful.
Well, I know me personally. It was the moment we started having those talks where I was kind of rediscovering things that I immediately was taking actions to better myself,
Yeah.
and it was from all the small things and all the way up. It was constantly like, wow, if I'm saying all these things, I need to be implementing them
Yep.
into my life. And it started with small things such as starting to eat better right away. Like there was just so many little things in my life that I was immediately changing
Yeah.
just from the talks. And some of them I didn't even realize until, some time had passed. And for example, so one thing that I've never been a big fan of is pop.
Mhm.
I hate pop.
Yeah.
But I never even realized that I had stopped drinking pop until like we went out to eat. And I got water. Everyone around me is ordering some kind of pop, and someone made a comment about it. And I'm just like, I don't know. Wow, I didn't even realize, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's just all these like immediate internal fixes that just completely change the game over a long stretch of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. So, have you ever worked your goals backwards? Have you ever like looked at the wall that you want to build, and then prioritized from there? So, do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. So, yeah, kind of, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
Like, usually it's kind of in a forward motion because I'm so focused on laying the brick as best as I can
Yeah.
and getting ready for the next one. But sometimes, yeah, it's more for fun, if you will, where it's just kind of me visualizing things.
Yeah. I
But
think I think like the easiest example would be like financially, right? So say in the next year I want to make $50,000 from a side hustle. So you take that side hustle and you say, all right, well, what will I need to make to get to that point? So you take the $50,000, divide it by 52 weeks. So each week I need to make this much money, and then with
oh,
that,
okay, yeah,
yeah, you
sure.
know what I mean. Just like looking at the big picture and then working your way back. And
Hmm.
have you done it? And do you like it?
Yeah, I think I pretty much do that with most goals. I can't say all because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to just make that blanket statement of all goals I've always done that with.
Yeah.
But pretty much every single big goal that I've had is basically working that way, and I really do like that. I think it helps make it more realistic because it sets that's kind of the action plan part of creating a goal.
Yeah.
Um, because now you have the goal, you have what you want, you have the target in sight, and now you have to figure out how you're going to hit it. And you kind of need to do that breakdown for pretty much everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember the compound effect?
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, the compound effect. If that is one way that has helped me not even achieve my goals, but just live my life in a more fruitful, in a more mindful manner. Because how I think about it is every day when I wake up, whether, if I wake up at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., depending on how late the night was prior, I think you look at the scope of your whole 24 hours and you say, if I lived every day for the rest of my life like I did in these 24 hours, how would I turn out? And that gives you such a stronger idea and gives you such a better perspective on your day-to-day activities and how it could be impacting you long term. So say whether you go out and pick up McDonald's breakfast or if you stay in and make some eggs and some toast for yourself. For lunch, if you eat chicken and rice, or if you go out and pick up Taco Bell. For dinner, if you just pick up a pizza, or if you stay home and make steak and veggies. Think about everything you're doing throughout the day, like your activity level, your diet, your sleep, everything like that. And if you were to repeat this day for the next 10 years of your life, after a decade, who would you be? Would you be somebody who feels healthy, who feels good, who's happy starting a family, who can financially support everyone? Or would you feel overweight, sluggish, you're broke, you don't have any money, and you're not happy, you don't have a family. Just that kind of thing. And so I think if you can really just take a step back, survey your 24 hours and say if I lived this day for the next decade, how would I turn out?
yeah. I think it's really important to have that insight, and I think a lot of people may use this without even really thinking about it. But it's important to do it like with that goal in mind of looking down the road and thinking about things like that because otherwise you're kind of just living day to day with
Yeah.
what where's your direction, where how do you feel, how do you reflect on what you've done throughout the day
Yeah.
if you're not thinking about how that day is going to impact your future.
Yep. And that's how Tony Robbins describes the Niagara effect. So, when it comes to making decisions in your life, make sure that you have the proper intention and you are making the decisions for yourself, not for anybody else. Because life is like a river, how Tony Robbins explains it. And when a river comes to a fork, you have to decide which way you want to go and you have to make your own informed decisions. Because if you just follow the stream, at the end of it, there might be the Niagara Falls, and that's when your life, everything just kind of dumps. And you're like, how did I get here? Have I been making the right decisions? Have I just been blindly following whatever's going on around me? And now you're at the bottom of the falls and you have no clue what to do, and your life kind of just imploded. Whereas you could make better decisions along the path and end up not having to deal with that by just putting in a little bit more thought.
And I almost think rather than this episode being on goals, which we have a couple episodes on, this should be more of the action steps of those goals because
Yeah.
um, awareness and all these goals and planning is great, but it means nothing without following through.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of discipline, and that's to me that's what the compound effect really instills in myself is discipline. It's something I tend to struggle with quite a bit because one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Kyle Snyder. I saw a video of him. He was teaching these youth kids how he was at like some wrestling camp, and he was telling them one lazy rep is too much because one lazy rep in all reality isn't going to hurt anything. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to ruin what you've created,
Yep.
but it's going to make it a lot easier for a second lazy rep.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, you're having whole practices that are just terrible for you.
Yeah.
And it really does work like that. Truly, the mind
Yeah.
allows yourself so much more slack the moment you let one
Yep.
easy day or one day where you're kind of just aimlessly doing whatever. And I'm not saying you can't just ever enjoy life.
Right.
I'm not saying like, but it really does help instill discipline in you when you can view things like that, and that's kind of the compound effect because
Yeah.
you have one little mistake, you have one little slip up, it's not going to hurt you. But if you look at it that way, it's not going to hurt. Then it's going to be a lot easier for that second mess up and that third mess up, and next thing you know, this diet you were on is back to being completely fast food or
Yep.
whatever it is you're steering away from.
Yeah. When it comes to being disciplined, guys, be disciplined where it matters, right? You can have your fun, you can have your enjoyment, you can go see your friends, you can stay up late, do obviously depending on what happens the day after, but be responsible, care about yourself, and discipline yourself where discipline is necessary. And soon enough, you'll start to notice that, like, oh, but fast food is so convenient, and I don't have to cook a meal, and you'll get rid of those thoughts, and you'll start to think about ordering out, getting takeout or whatever, and you'll think, no, I won't feel well. I'm gonna spend money that I don't need to spend. I'm just gonna cook myself a meal. You cook yourself a meal, you eat it, you feel great. I did that the other night, dude. I had chicken breasts in my fridge, and this was like epitome of how my life has been for like the last year and a half, and now I'm like nipping it in the butt. I have been like we talked about complacency. I've just been so complacent with my life for the longest time. I don't even know how I got there. I really don't, because I was so motivated, so disciplined, so I guess driven in my life, and I've really pulled back the reins to where I'm just going with the flow. I'm just doing what's easy, doing what's convenient, and just getting by with what I can. And I literally did this. It was yesterday. Yeah, literally yesterday. I was sitting on the couch. I'm watching a movie. I have chicken in the fridge that I need to cook. Like, it's gonna go bad if I don't cook it. And I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
there. I pull up my phone, dude. I'm on DoorDash. I have a Wendy's order pulled up on DoorDash. I don't even eat Wendy's. I've never like that was my thing. I'm like, oh, I've never been. I barely ever eat Wendy's. Like, I might as well just because it's something different. It's new. And I'm sitting there, and the total was like 30 some bucks. And I was like, I'm sitting there. I'm like shaking my head, knowing I shouldn't do it. Put my phone down. Keep watching the movie. My stomach rumbles again. I pull my phone back out. I'm like, dude, just order it. Like, you're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be good. And then that's it. And like, you can make the chicken later. Whatever. I look at my phone and I was like, what are you doing? Do you know how miserable you look right now? Like, how weak you really look right now? Like, if you press that button, I was like, whatever. Stood up, made some chicken and rice, dude. Phenomenal. Loved it. And I'm so happy
And
I made that decision. Go ahead.
and that conviction is huge because when you can convict yourself to that level, it really does help you shift yourself back on course.
Right.
And the thing is a lot of us, and it's kind of like a natural defense mechanism almost. When we have those feelings of conviction, we want to completely just block them out. We want to
Yeah.
ignore it. We want to tell ourselves, come up with reasons or excuses, if you will, on why that is okay, why it's acceptable
Yep.
to just completely ignore this self conviction that you're having. And if you just listen to yourself, there's almost always a reason why you're feeling that sense of conviction.
Yeah.
And personally, that's something that's really pushed me back into working on my relationship with God because I'd be very upset with how things are sitting currently. And then I'd feel convicted because I know that I'm not doing anything to better my relationship with
Yep.
Him. And so I get my butt up and I start going to church or whatever. I start looking into it more. I start reading more. Like, there's so many different things you can do when you're faced with this conviction. And one of the worst things you can do is completely ignore it.
Yep. Or combat it. Most of the time, that's what we do, and that's why we feel the conviction is because we're doing the exact opposite of what we know we should be doing. And then
Mm-hmm.
and then it hurts. It hurts very bad. So the instance I just gave, whatever, that was a small thing. It was just my diet. It was a little bit financial. But when it comes to your career, your health, or your overall financial life and your financial health, when you are struggling with those things and you are actively going against what you know you need to be doing, and then you have a loved one, say it's your significant other, say it's a brother, say it's a sister, and they're telling you, and they see it, and they say, here's what's wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. You should be doing the other thing. It feels like a personal attack, and you get so defensive because you're like, I know, just stop talking about it. I know. And you just want everyone to ignore it, and you just want it to be swept under the rug. But at the same time, that's never going to help you. And those people are saying something because they love and care about you. So do something about it. Take action, become better for you and for the people around you.
And that's when instilling discipline becomes so important. And we can kind of even tie goals back into this as well with the action plan, because it's so much easier when you have these realizations to start getting back on course and start kind of redirecting to your route where you were originally heading,
Yep.
right? But oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just completely lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay.
Um,
I do
uh,
have an insertion here if you want to think for a second.
yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So this reminds me of an episode. I can't remember. I can't remember what episode we were, but just bust a Yui, man. When it
Hmm.
comes to right when Brandon Granger came on the podcast and he talked about busting a Yui, basically whenever you are driving somewhere, you have directions to somewhere, and you miss your turn, you miss your exit. You don't just say, "Dude, darn it, the trip's over. I can't go back. There's nothing I can do." No, your GPS tells you to at the next available location, just take a U-turn and go back, and that's how you should be doing it in life.
And okay, sorry. Wow, I had like so many different thoughts going
Yeah,
on at once that
you're
I was
good.
like, okay, don't distract yourself, and then boom, it
And then
was
you
just.
distracted yourself. Yeah.
But so the thing is with discipline is that once you've instilled discipline, it's in these moments of conviction or in these weak moments that you push through anyways. And
Yep.
that's why it takes time to build this discipline. That's why discipline is so important, is because when you're in those weak moments, you know that you can push through and you don't have anything else other than the fact that you're going to push through.
Yeah.
And it takes grit to be disciplined. It really does. And it starts with small things, but it applies to everything.
Yep.
And another thing is, it's just important that when you're like really far off in the deep end, you have to go back to the basics. Go back
Yeah.
to the old goal setting methods.
Yep.
Go back to whatever it is that you were on course for. And again, if not, if you were never on a course to begin with, then that's when you can find out the basics. Because if you
Yep.
build up a house and your foundation isn't strong enough, it's going to crumble the moment there's a rainy day. The
Yep.
moment it gets tough, you're going to crumble and you're going to have to start the rebuild.
Yep.
And I just think that it's so important to just be able to realize this and instill that discipline. And then one more thing about it. Wow, my mind is all over the place right now. This is
That's
crazy.
okay. No, dude. One thing that you just said there, which was huge for me to realize in these past few months, is that when I realized how far away and how much complacency I have allowed in my life and how far away I was from who I used to be, and I was like, no, dude, it's time to take. Have you seen the new Flash movie? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I
Okay,
have.
so
Yeah.
so I felt like it was the scene. It was in the scene, right, where Flash met the other Flash, and the new Flash got his powers, and the other Flash lost his powers, but he didn't know it yet. And so he's like, "All right, man, we're gonna have to break out of here." And he just goes to start running, and he doesn't have his speed anymore. And he's like, "What?" That's kind of how I felt coming back from this like lieu of discipline and lieu of me caring about myself, where I'm like, all right, dude, you got to get back into this. You gotta pick yourself up and let's move forward. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I go to take a step, and I'm like, I have no clue what to do, because I was so rooted who I used to be that I just knew everything subconsciously, and I was just acting for the betterment of myself. That now that it's not even my routine anymore. So I literally had to take a step back and say, okay, what can I do to become better? What do I need to do? And so, like what you just said, I just had to go back to the basics. I couldn't just walk blindly. I had to stop and think and actually lay out what I wanted out of my life.
And it's painful because once you've been at those peaks,
Yeah.
once you're in that valley where you really do have to go back to the basics, it's like it's almost like a shameful feeling,
Yeah.
but it should not be, because
Right.
you have made the clear decisions to do what you need to do to get your life right. And that is something that a lot of people have a really hard time with. And I remember what I was going to say. I wrote it down that way if I somehow lose my train of thought again, it's right here for
Yep.
me. One thing that really gives me the faith I need through these tough times, one thing that's always just really good for me to be thinking about, is how I know no matter what, the human condition is always able to take on more,
Yeah.
always. And it's very tough, but I know that it'll always adapt. I will adapt no matter how hard it feels getting back on the right course. I know that I can take it. And it might not feel like it. I get very overwhelmed because I have very big goals for myself. And especially when I've deviated from my original plan, it's even more overwhelming because now all I can focus on is the time that I've wasted. All I focus on is now I have to spend time and energy getting back to where I was to move forward.
Yeah.
But the one thing that always settles me back in is that I know if I just keep plugging away, I'm going to be able to keep pushing and handle
Yeah.
more and more and more until I'm moving past where I once was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another thing is being here. So being there and then slowly declining and now being here. I think to myself all the time, if I just got over that hump of like whatever I was in, right? That hump of I just don't want it today. I'm just not feeling up for it. I just want to eat some good tasting food. If I just got over all of those emotions that I was having here and didn't come down here, then it would be a lot easier for me to just move up whatever 5 or 10% opposed to having to come up now 150% just to get back there.
And I know we've talked about this, but at the beginning you also said you wanted to kind of bring up mindset changes. And one of the biggest ones, and I'm pretty sure I've said almost this exact example in a previous episode,
Yeah.
is the negative connotation that we give to getting back on the right track. Like the word diet, meal plan. Get rid of the word diet. Everyone hates hearing the word diet.
Yep.
Use meal plan because that's exactly what it is. You are simply planning your meals to be as good as they possibly can be for you.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. It's such a small little shift. But when we can start like getting the negative air out of all these things, like
Yeah.
the biggest one for me has always been discipline. I've always just hated that because
Yeah.
I like
Sounds like punishment.
right, and I
Yeah.
really like to be spontaneous. I like to have time to just not have anything planned. And so whenever I'm like planning, which I also love to do, so it kind of clashes once in a while.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm planning, I plan time that I can do whatever for this chunk to this chunk. But if you don't limit yourself, it's so easy to just get wrapped up in so many different things that
Yeah.
now you're exhausted, you're burnt out, and you're off course all at the same time.
Yeah.
And again, that's when, I'll say it again, you have to go back to the basics.
And I think one thing we kind of dance around because it seems so cliche and it seems so easy, but it's something that you and I don't necessarily struggle with, so we don't talk about it a ton. But going back to letting the viewers know that sometimes a challenge seems too big or too scary or unrealistic and that you may not accomplish it, so you're scared of failing. But guys, always take action towards your goals and never stop failing because the minute that you actually stop trying is when you fail. You need to keep going. You need to keep trying. Fail, fail, fail. You will learn, 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 and know how to do it next time.
Mm-hmm. And it's honestly, this is kind of, I feel like, a dangerous thing to bring up on the topic of goals.
Yeah.
But it is okay to realize while you're chasing a goal that you no longer want that goal.
Yep.
That is completely okay. But that is no excuse to not either create a new goal. And that's why, for me personally, that's why goal setting is such a long process. Because if I'm setting a goal that I want to attain in 5 years from now, I need to make sure this is a goal that I want.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that in 4 or 5 years, this is a goal that gets me out of bed every morning. Especially the days that I want to just hit the snooze button and roll right back over and sleep another 20 minutes.
Yep.
I need to make sure that this is something that is really going to give me that drive. And so that's why I never take goal setting lightly, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love for anybody who's watching this to either comment or DM us about goals that you're setting for your, or like if we've given you any inspiration to start goal setting. I would love to hear that because that is honestly one of the biggest reasons why we do this is just to have a positive impact on our viewers and our audience. So I don't know. I know I like to see it just because it's like, yeah, you guys took a little bit of inspiration from us. That feels good. But at the same time, I want to see you guys like actually coming up with goals. And if anything, if you message them to us, we can kind of hold you accountable and just keep in touch with you.
Exactly. Accountability is a huge one, and it's really difficult to have self accountability. It is.
Oh,
It is.
whew.
Technically it's impossible to have 100% self accountability.
Yeah,
Actually, throw out the technically. It is impossible to have 100% self accountability.
yeah,
So if that's one of your biggest drawbacks, if that's one of the biggest things that's holding you back, we would be very happy, even if it's once a week or once a month, just messaging you, hey man, how's it going? How's your progress? Where are you at? Where do you want to be? Like,
yeah,
tell us this, and we will help keep you accountable.
yeah.
And you guys, and that's the thing about this podcast is you guys keep us accountable
Yep.
for a lot of things, even if it's just us talking. As we've said before, sorry, I got a little fruit fly that somehow got in here.
I see it.
Um,
Don't worry.
did you? Did
Yeah,
you actually see
I
it?
did. Yeah, I
Okay,
saw
well,
its little wings flying in the light.
there goes today's guest. His
Yeah,
name's Jerry, and he just took off towards the window.
Jerry the
So,
fruit fly.
but this podcast keeps us very accountable when it comes to just everyday life, step by step things, and it's the tough days, the toughest days that I look back on our podcast, and I'm like, okay, what would positive outlook say? And that
Yeah.
sounds like that might sound a little self conceited or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's more about the accountability aspect because it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. We are all going through the struggle. I promise you
Yeah.
that. I hated when we first came out with the podcast. People in our hometown, mostly friends, so it wasn't like it was actually like, oh, I hate this. But there was a little bit of realism in it
Yeah.
from certain people as well. But it was like, oh, look, it's Mr. Positive Outlook. And it's like, no, that's not why we do this. It's not
Yeah.
because we're trying to, and we've talked about toxic positivity before.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're trying to just be the guys that are always smiling. Like we're not better than anybody else in any
Yeah.
capacity.
And you
In
hear
fact,
it. You hear it in our videos. We get real.
100%.
We get real. Yeah.
And it's something that drives us to be better.
Yeah.
It's whether it's from ourselves, talking to ourselves,
Yep.
whether it's from you guys. And as you said, you love hearing the inspiration. That is
Yeah.
a huge driving force.
Yep.
When we hear that we've touched people's lives, it's so much more impactful on us as
Yeah.
well as anybody that's listening.
And I do just want to say, man, we don't put our headphones and our microphones on and sit here and talk because we think we know everything. We do it because we have struggled, we have been through things, and we know that there are plenty of people out there in our circumstance, our age, that just need to hear that it's gonna be okay. And that is why
Yep.
we do it.
100%. And another big thing is, so when I started flying, I had a really hard time landing. Landing is one of the toughest parts, especially to a brand new pilot, because there's so much technique to it, especially to put the plane down softly.
Yeah.
And you only get so much time in the plane, and you're paying for every hour that you're in the plane. So it's also kind of like there's an intense pressure to it as well, because it's like you want to get this down as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I could not figure out why I was struggling so hard with my landings. Well, my instructor had me switch instructors just for one lesson. He had me fly with somebody completely different that I've never flown with before. And we were coming into land. I had one bad landing. We take off. We get around. We're in pattern. Come back again. And all she says is the words, look at the end of the runway. And so I look at the end of the runway. Boom. The landing was beautiful. Now, this is something that my instructor has told me 1,000 times in a different way. And it did not click with me. But the moment it came from someone else, the way she said it, I couldn't tell you exactly why the way or how she said it or what she said made my landings just click, but it did. And that's kind of how I view this podcast.
Yeah.
There's millions of people out there, or at least thousands, tens of thousands, or however many people are out there with some sort of message for you guys. And we're not saying we can deliver it better, but if there's a chance that you're one of those people that's stuck in a rut, that's chasing their tail, that's just in a circle and can't figure out how to get out, if one little thing we say just helps something click and you guys can kind of push through and move past that, that's amazing.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're chasing.
Man, couldn't have said it better myself. Man, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful that we have the opportunity to sit here and just talk to you guys. That's all it is. And man, we practice, we research, and we act on things that hopefully you guys get the courage to message us, comment, whatever, just so that we can share some of that knowledge with you. We're and like Caleb said, we don't do it because we think we're any better than you. Matter of fact, we're right there with you. We're equal with you. Let's figure it out together. That's what we're here for.
100%. And it's honestly one of the beautiful things about it is the fact that and we talk about it all the time. Not as much now, just because usually when we're on calls together, it's specifically business.
Yeah.
But especially when we used to record in person all the time, just over the course, and I think you just actually said it in the previous episode. If you compare our first episode to our more recent episodes, there's so much growth that you can just see.
Yeah.
You can just see it in the videos. And I'm not talking about quality of the content. I'm not talking about quality of like the cameras, which is one of them, because we used to be little pixels.
Oh my gosh.
But just the growth personally that we've both had from having this podcast.
Yeah.
And part of it's growing up and learning and getting experience from life as well. But a lot of it's from the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so much more comfortable sitting down and being able to talk about real things with you specifically, but with people in general, than I was 3 years ago when we had our first episode. And we're sitting here kind of timid and just kind of like stiff in our seats.
Yeah, I mean, we're tough and all, like, but when we're not, here's what we do to deal with it, right? Like that was like our first like 3 episodes or whatever. But oh man.
And again, that's not to toot our own horns, but it's just to show that if you continually chip away at something, the process takes over. Yeah. And eventually, and I didn't even know, like episode to episode, I didn't recognize, oh my gosh, I'm getting more and more comfortable doing this. Oh my gosh, we're getting better and better at doing this. And there are slide backs. There's definitely episodes where I was just kind of not there mentally or whatever.
Yeah.
But
we both had them.
But over the course of 3 years, though, it's crazy the growth that we've had. And that's just to show you guys that this stuff does work. This isn't just some, like, the biggest doubters are just like, oh, yeah, well, anyone could just go and say that. And, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, anyone can say that. Anyone can do that. Anybody.
Yeah, right. Do you think if we went back, like if we got a little time travel device, right, and we went back to my apartment when we were sitting there, and we're like, guys, it's Gabe and Caleb, and we are here, and we're recording in 2024, July 1st. Do you think we'd believe it? We'd be like, what, dude, we did it. But I mean, we didn't. But
no, we'd probably think that if we heard that we'd be like Mr. Beast.
yeah, I know. We'd be like, dude, we're huge. I can't believe we've been around for 3 years though. 3 years and 3 months.
It's crazy. And I think it's crazy and this is kind of more of just a real talk. I think we should wrap up the episode really quick and then kind of switch to this more like Twitch chatting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that.
So guys, if you're on YouTube right now, what we're about to be talking about, you're not going to know if you don't follow us on Twitch.
Yeah,
it'll be in the description below. Yep. I know this episode kind of got away from us, but I think this was honestly a great episode. Anyone that's tuning in on Monday, I hope you guys had a fantastic 4th of July.
Yes. I hope it was
comment
safe.
Down below your biggest goal that you have. If you've made it this far into the video, like and subscribe. Don't forget those 2 things. And head over to our Twitch because we are very excited to be able to have this more down to earth. Kind of what we just talked about is kind of a sample of the type of content that we're looking forward to having on Twitch.
Yeah, and we're gonna be going live on Twitch every week, at least once a week. Turn on notifications so you guys can see when we're going live, so you guys can swing in and talk to us. But yes, happy Monday! Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoy our content, and make sure to comment as well. So, do you have anything else you want to add?
We love you guys. We love our YouTube audience. And if we can get you over to Twitch, you don't have to tune in on Mondays because you'll already have seen the episode and the content. Yep. And we might change that. We might change that to where we have an episode separate from Twitch. Yeah. But I don't know. As of now, I think this is a cool idea. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning into the YouTube. YouTube's still like one of our top 3 favorite platforms to use. Top 3. You hear that,
Top three.
YouTube? You better step it up.
Do we even use 3? Like,
Well, I include like Instagram and
oh,
TikTok
okay.
as well as
Right.
platforms.
Yep.
So yeah. But yeah, guys, again, thank you. We love you. Like and subscribe. We're sorry, Twitch guys, if you're here listening to this part. But like I said, if you want to hear what else we have to say, tune
Come
into
on over
Twitch
to
every Wednesday.
Twitch. Yes. All right, guys. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Happy Monday.